Oh no, I hope your toe's okay. I appreciate your sacrifice. Oh, that's the I don't know what's worse, your big toe or your pinky toe. I feel like both are, like, equally bad. Both.
Yes, rest in peace, Vesper's toe. I'm sorry, Vesper.
Thank you, Vesper.
Okay, then I think I'm gonna get Blitz if you want to introduce yourself and just like some basic information about Silver Sharks, like when you guys were created, what you guys do, simple stuff like that.
Sure. So, hi, my name's Blitz. Um, I'm a 23-year-old club owner. I work in veterinary medicine. I'm a vet tech. Well, I'm a vet tech, but I'm also like a vet tech in training. I've been a vet tech since February, and I'm the manager of a kennel. So I love to talk dogs and cats. Um, I've been playing Star Stable for I think like 11 years or something since I was like 12 or 13. Um, and I got into dressage probably in quarantine around like 2020. Um, I actually didn't know that clubs were like such a big thing until used to be on Maple Star for whatever reason. I'm not Canadian and I don't speak French. But I was on Maple Star. And somebody came up to me and had just randomly invited me to their club, and I was like, "Oh, heck yeah." Accepted it. And then they had like told me that they do Zoom calls for meetings, and I was like, "What?" And then I kind of started to get involved with like club culture, and how big of a community it actually was. Um, so here I am. I started my first club, Steel Sharks, in 2021. Um, I was a very new club owner, very new to the dressage scene, but it was an amazing experience to own Steel Sharks. Um, I ended up disbanding Steel Sharks and uh, in about when the world started opening up again, and I got back into work, and everybody started working, and everybody was just excited to go be able to leave their house. So I disbanded Steel Sharks, and then just kind of was like, when there will be another time where I will own a club again. And so Silver Sharks was born. We were created on May 18th, 2024. We just had our 1 year this May. We are dressage and hangout. Thank you, thank you. For dressage and hangout, we really focus in on inclusivity. So our club is like welcome to hangout members if they don't like dressage. We make it super flexible for people. Very much like mental health advocate. Um, inclusive to everybody. Just a really safe place for everybody to kind of be themselves and have that space to take breaks if they need it. If they're going through a burnout, be able to just sit back and like take their break and then get back into it when they, you know, are feeling kind of like that they light that fire again because it is really easy to go through a dressage burnout. So we really want to be flexible for those members, or if they're new, want to try it out, they have that option if they don't want to do dressage anymore, or if it is something that they want to pursue further. Um so yeah, we're based out of Hazy Galaxy. um I think we have like 42 members at the moment. um And yeah, we just welcomed in our slush pups. They're doing great. If you know the origin of that name, shout out to Lauren. It's they were named after, those, like, slush pup pouches that you find in the grocery store and just throw in your freezer. So yeah, we've been having a lot of fun with them. Yeah, it's pretty much everything about silver sharks, I think.
Cool, awesome. All right, so we're just gonna jump into the first question. How do you think silver sharks grew and maintained activity and your member count?
Okay, so maintaining member count and growing your club. I feel like there's just so many ways to do that, but I would say the best thing to do, which really just sounds like, you know, I got really lucky. Truly, I did. I was super lucky with the interest that was given was to silver sharks when we first kind of began. After a few pup batches is really when we started getting noticed. But I would say that the way that I did that was having a presence both in the game and online. Um, Meaning Instagram, being a part of like support groups for club owners, talking to other club owners, um, alongside making a presence in the game to clubless players, putting yourself out there as an option, growing your following online. So that's really when people start to like hear who you are, and like know that you're there. Um, something as simple as just standing at Steve's. Standing at Steve's in a line, everybody does it, but it is such like that alone, just people are playing, people are passing through, and they're seeing your club name and they're like remembering that. Oh, I've seen them before. So when you're first starting a club, just being online a lot, just, you know, that in itself is super helpful. Um, so I would say that. And if you have the means to do it, I know that people are also, like, becoming more popular with, like, group giveaways, doing your own giveaways. I would say what really, like, got Silver Sharks noticed is that, last year we did a fundraiser. So it was, like, every 10 people that joined our OS, we would donate money towards, uh, a foundation that protects the oceans and the sharks. Um, which was a huge success because, people wanna help out. It was something that was for a good cause and also kinda helped out the sharks a little bit, meaning the in-game sharks. Helped us out, helped the real sharks, and people, kinda got an idea of, like, what we're all about and, like, our theme and whatever. Um, and so we started getting people in our OS, and people started following us on Instagram, sharing our posts because we had this fundraiser going on. Um, so fundraisers, awareness post, like, you know, stuff like that, giveaways, group giveaways, anything that you can, um, to get people to share your content online, um, to reach new audiences is super important for gaining members. Um, Now maintaining activity and member count, that's kind of it took a while. It really does. And like I'll tell any club owner that activity and member retention is not linear. Like Silver Sharks has gone through rough patches where, you know, despite the numbers, like we'll get, you know, a fraction of that number to show up to events. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And same with like, applications or, people leaving. People are going to leave. Um, and that's okay as well. Everybody's looking for their perfect fit and it's nothing personal. Like, if somebody leaves your club, it's nothing personal. Sometimes it just doesn't work for them, Sometimes we have people leave the club because our times don't work for them, or maybe they're just looking for a different environment, something more strict or, something more laid back. they're trying to find their home, and that's okay. Um, it's gonna happen. But what keeps our members to stay is that we are incredibly inclusive. We focus a lot on making sure new people feel welcomed in by our existing members and they stay feeling welcomed. They stay this as soon as they become a part of the club, they just and my members are amazing with this. They really are. They're so, so amazing. They just welcome everybody in with open arms. They are super chatty, like, they just wanna get to know everybody, um, you know, and they just, like, really present themselves as, like, a safe place for new members to ask questions, be nervous, be anxious, because it is, like, really scary. You see you open up our closed server and you see, like, 50 members in there, you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's a lot of people." But these people are waiting for them. They're excited to see them, and they're excited to get to know them, and I would say that that's what keeps people in our club. It's not our dressage or our hangout events, it's the members. The members are amazing, and they're super, super great with just creating and they are the environment. It's nothing that I do. It's nothing that my HR does. It is the members and the people that are there that keep members in the club because they feel so overwhelmingly included.
Yeah, that's a great answer to that question. I feel like just making your turnover rate really low and making that community in your club is like the number one thing that you can do to just keep your members like united and all together as like a family or something like that.
For sure.
Okay, the next question is when should somebody open applications?
Okay. So I feel like this question is kind of just like, you know, whatever works works. Um, you know, we typically open applications about once a month. And we keep them open for a week just because of the amount of applications we get versus the amount of spots we have available. Um, kind of overrides. Like sometimes we even close before a week if we fill the spots. So that's what works for us. We've always done it that way. Um, even before, like when we were like a small, medium-sized club, they were open for a week, once a month. And that's what works for us. It keeps us on a schedule, um, which I think it benefits both the HR and the members because HR knows, okay, this is when applications open, this is when we read applications, this is when trial starts, this is when trial ends, and then it's just a cycle. Obviously, that doesn't always happen, but most of the time, that's how our schedule, kind of works. Um, so it keeps us balanced. Now, for smaller clubs, and depending on the way that your club functions, so we have a spirit week every week, and we are more of like an academy based club, um, where they have to take a test at the end of their trial if they're dressage, and hangout members have a target amount of attendance that they need to meet to pass their trial. Um, so that's kind of how we keep on a schedule. If you don't really have that academy based um, dressage schedule or hangout schedule, what have you, you could keep your applications open for as long as you want, um, based off of how you formulate your trial process. If you have a trial process, sometimes, trial processes don't work for everybody. Um, but that's just what works for us. So I would say, based off of what your club is founded on, if you do aim to have a trial process, how long that trial process is going to be, while also giving the trials themselves a little bit of leeway because sometimes we have pups that come in and they can't make the test that day. So like, do you want to have an extra week, extra few days before opening applications? to get people caught up, being able to take their tests, make up attendance, what have you. Um, so yeah, I would say just go off of what works. Find, you could try new things, maybe open them for a week. If you want them open a little bit longer, give yourself some more time to advertise and you know, reach out to the community, maybe 2 weeks, a month. Just find what works for your club. I mean, honestly, eh, you know, and then once you find what works, you can stick to it. You can always change it in the future. It's all good. Just go with the flow.
Yeah, totally. Okay. The next question is, if somebody advertises like all the time, why wouldn't people be joining like their server?
Um, See, this is something I struggle with very badly. I'm not a Discord whiz, by any means. So, I would say, um and of course I've had, assistance from my amazing Discord team, um, as a club owner because I need it. They call me grandma for a reason. I don't know what I'm doing with Discord. So, um, what I've noticed, though, in my time as a club owner is advertising consistently is always a good thing. Um, you know, I that's where I kind of lack is advertising consistently. But making sure that your advertisement has enough information for people to kind of shop your club. Um, Make it interesting, make it pretty, make it aesthetic. Um, Use different fonts, emojis, whatever, whatever. Put a GIF in there, make a card, make it easy to streamline information in as small as a advertisement as possible. Because me personally, you know, and I think that a lot of people aren't going to read a super long advertisement. They're going to want to see what your club offers, what your server offers. And that's pretty much it. That's all you need. If you put, you could put a little blip of your club information, maybe add your requirements, since people are probably clubless people are going to be looking for what your club's all about and then your requirements. Are you a 18 and up club? Are you ages 15 and up? Blah blah blah. Dressage, hangout, what level you need to be, stuff like that. Put that in there. Um, and then maybe some links to your socials and of course the OS. And I think that's good enough. As long as it looks pretty, flashy, catches the attention without being too much to read, I think that's the perfect advertisement. Um, and when it comes to people retaining and staying in your open server, um, do dailies, offer self promo. Self promo is a huge, huge thing because as a club owner, I utilize self promo in hundreds of channels. That's what other club owners, you don't want to focus in on just clubless people. You want to appeal to the community, and the community includes club owners, team owners. So having a self promo channel, um, dailies, stream movies, have your members talk in there. That's awesome. Have some channels, for people to connect, people to utilize. And I think that will really, and of course hosting open server events is awesome and having a partnered channel where you support other clubs. That's also an awesome way to get your OS out there is partnering with other clubs because people in their servers will come join yours. Um, and you also get to support clubs at the same time. It's a win-win. So yeah, that's kind of like my standpoint on advertising and member retention in open servers.
Yeah, really good. I think it's all about like consistency, like you said, just getting into that groove of advertising constantly and just like every day showing up to do the work and stuff. Um, but yeah, so the next question is, how do you get people to apply?
Okay, so this kind of circles back to the first question where it's being online. Um, it You could always do the good old global advertisement. Um, that's where I get a lot of applicants from, is advertising on global. Um, you know, and depending on, like, what you're offering, like, it's a great way to just, you know, get it out there. I mean, everybody knows the SSO chat filter kinda puts a damper on things and, they're trying to silence us. Um, but it if you could get around the filter, kinda play around with what you're typing up. I know that people on mobile will copy and paste their advertisements, so, that's an option. But I would say an easy way to get applicants is simply by doing that. Alongside it, though, I would also utilize your presence online, on Instagram, on TikTok, just anywhere you can. Um, Create some hype. That is, if there's anything that is going to get people excited for your club, is getting them hype. Um, Posting about it a month ahead of time, a couple weeks ahead of time, a week ahead of time, really like building the suspense and, post video edits of your club and little skits or, you know, just little tidbits of your club to like show them what you're all about alongside that suspense is really gonna, make people interested in what you guys are all about. I think that's an awesome way to get the excitement going, and on top of advertising and global, yeah, I think it could definitely help people get applicants.
Sorry, I was just like blowing my nose.
That's
Okay,
okay.
the next question is how do I tell high ranks to do something without coming across as bossy or controlling?
I love this question, and I was thinking about this the whole time. Um, I would say nothing will y if you have the right connection with your HR, nothing will come off as bossy or controlling. My HR are my wingmen. My leader eagle's in here right now. We are best friends. We are best friends. We talk all day, every day, and I think the important thing with that is making sure that it's not just business all the time. Making sure it's not just business. Um, we have a Snapchat group chat. We'll send each other vlogs throughout the day about random things in our life. We talk to each other about our problems. We vent to one another. Um, we have such a supportive HR team that if any, and it's so like safe that I know that if Eagle has a concern or Lauren has a concern, or Rainy, that they can come to me or I can come to them, and whatever is said or whatever concerns we have is never personal. It's never personal because, apart from the club, we're friends. We're friends and I trust them and I trust their opinions. I trust whatever that they have to say because I know that they've got my back and they love my club just as much as I do, and they want nothing more than to better my club just as much as I do. So, if they have any concerns or, I need them to do something or they need me to do something, uh, there there's never any bossiness, there's never any, um, controllingness, like, they love their job. My HR loves their job. If I say, "Hey, Lauren, can you go post a TikTok?" Lauren's, like, on it. If I'm like, "Hey, Eagle, can you tell me, you know, can you just do attendance tonight?" Or well, Eagle does attendance on her own. She's great about it. Um, but, like, if I'm like, "Hey, Eagle, can you help me with our PowerPoint?" Or whatever, whatever, Eagle's, like, on it. On it. They love it. They love it so much, and I'm so lucky to have them. They're my BFFs, and they're my wingmen, and I always tell my club members, I'm like, "Hey, they are an extension of me. I am just the same as them. I just happen to pay the star coins to own this club. Technically, I'm the owner. My HR is exactly the same as me. We talk about the same things. Anything that a member comes to us about is spoken about to all of us. All of us know about it. And we all handle it the same. We all work together to come to a conclusion. And I think that's what keeps Silver Sharks just so ultimately like the environment that it is because everybody's friends. Like we even though they work alongside me, they're not really my HR. They're just my friends that help me out with stuff, and I help them with stuff and we work really well together. So, I would say that if you're worried about things being bossy or controlling, I understand that when you first bring in high ranks, it might be a little awkward, you know? Finding your flow, finding who's best at what, but ultimately bond with them. Make sure that you're bringing in HR, and I say this all the time. If when I bring in HR, it is people that I trust that if I have to step away for a month, I trust that my club will not burn to the ground. And that I could step back for a year, and I know that my leaders got it. They fully got it, and if one of them needs to step away, we got it. One of my leaders just went to Africa for a month. She obviously wasn't able to get on Star Stable. Totally fine. We just got her back the other day. Woohoo, we have Rainy back. But, she stepped away, everything was perfectly fine. We got it. And, I think that trust and just building that friendship and that connection with your HR, um, kind of minimizes that feeling of, like, being bossy or controlling because it's just like, you guys work so well together that giving them a task or them giving you a task isn't really giving them a it's more like doing it a favor. "Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you just do this? Can you talk to this person? Send out warnings for the week." Sure. On it. I'll get it done as soon as, I get it done, and that's just how it is, So make sure that you're bringing on HR that you trust, you vibe with, you're friends with, and I think that's, like, the best way to minimize that feeling.
For sure. After you just get to know like your high ranks, it just gets so much easier to talk to them and just to like ask for those favors and get them to do some stuff behind the scenes and everything. All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna go for the last three questions, and then I
Okay.
think we're gonna get wrapped up. And if anybody has any questions, just put them in the chat, and we can get to them right after. So, if somebody can't pay for a logo or to get somebody to edit their Instagram posts, what should they do or where could they get one done?
Okay, I also love this question. So, um, I am the main editor for Silver Sharks. Um, so I have joined like, servers looking for editors. Um, right now I don't really have the time to post, so I do pay people to do feed edits for us sometimes just so I could keep on top of our socials. And I would say like Nova Visuals, you know, who's the other one? There's another big like artist in the SSO community. Oftentimes that they will have servers, which are mainly targeted towards them like advertising when their commissions are open or requests are open and whatnot. But also you'll find a lot of times that there will be channels searching, that you could put an ISO post for whatever you're looking for. And a lot of times people take requests, especially artists that are looking to build their portfolio, maybe to, um, you know, maybe start commissioning in the future. Maybe they just really want to love what they do and they want to do it without a price tag. That is a great place to start, is just looking for those kind of art servers. And putting in a request. I know that also in like club searching. servers. Occasionally they'll have also channels where you can look for logos or feed editors or whatever. Um, so that's a really awesome way to find an artist. So Nova Visuals has Nova's Cozy Corner. I know that that is a great place to look. I myself have looked for feed editors in Nova's channel. Nova Puppyberg, I think it is, or no, I think it's just Nova Visuals. Um, there's another one that I'm in, but I would have to I would have to share it. I can't really. I'm in a lot of servers. It's hard for me to look. Oh, Studio Elysian is another good server. I don't know who that's owned by. Uh, Bex Arts. Bex Arts. Really great. Just, looking supporting artists by joining their servers, but it also benefits you because you can look for people who are offering their art for free.
For sure, awesome. I've totally found a lot of people to like the TDN Instagram posts just in like Club Cliche and stuff like that. I
Yeah,
was thinking of adding one of those channels or something similar to that in one of the categories here. So let me know if you guys
good.
would be interested in that. That would be
Definitely, definitely.
mhm. All right. How do you guys deal with inactive members?
Okay. So, we are very so being a large club and being flexible definitely takes a lot of tweaking. Um Because we do go through periods of inactivity where multiple members are inactive, and there's nothing we could do about that. I mean, life happens. They go on vacation, especially in the summertime. You'd think that that would be the time that everybody's like super active, but everybody's going on vacation. We're 15 and up, so some of our kiddos are going to camps or, they work at camps or they're spending time with family, so it's actually quite a slow time, um, periodically throughout summer, um, rather than the school year, because I think that our members are on a schedule. They're not really going anywhere, um, so it's almost easier during the school year and away from summertime, for our members. So we have a warning system, where week 1, we basically just say, "Hey, you didn't meet your attendance for the week," you know, try to pick it up next week. We usually send them out on Sundays or Mondays. Um, then if they are not meeting their attendance for the second week, we'll be like, "Hey, didn't meet your attendance again. Is there something that we could do to help you? Would you like a long-term absence, short-term absence? Do you need to take a step back? Is life busy right now? Just let us know what we can do to accommodate you." And then if they deny like a long-term absence, short-term absence, after talking with HR, the third week that they're inactive, we'll be like, "Hey, this is your third week. This is your last warning." And occasionally, depending on the circumstance, you know, if something happens that third week, we'll be like, okay, like, just know that if you need to take a long term absence, take it now, or, you know, we'll give you a little more time. And then if they still don't improve, unfortunately, it leads to removal. But that's also like over a month of inactivity. So, you know, and we host 2 to 3 events a week. So, it's quite a bit of time to go without attending something in the club, and especially being a high in demand club, it it can be hard to remove people. Um, Sometimes most of the time, they'll leave on their own accord if they know that they're super busy, um, and they'll come back later because we do have a lot of members come back after that. Um But I would say just as hard as it is, and, like, this is something that we struggled with because we felt really guilty about it, you know, if somebody's being really inactive and just not really showing that drive or effort to attend things or be a part of your community, offering just kind of terminating their membership may be the best option. Um, you know, tell them that they could come back another time when life is more forgiving. And, of course, for those who are dealt the wrong cards at the time, somebody's computer breaks, personal reasons, mental health reasons, you know, offer them that long-term absence, offer them that short-term absence, whatever time they need, accommodation always comes first. That is really like our last resort is, you know, having somebody take their leave from the club. We never want to do that. But as a club owner and, to keep the ball rolling, sometimes it is the sacrifice that you need to make. And it's unfortunate. But if you approach it in a way that it is not like a punishment, because it's not a punishment. It's just things didn't work out this time around. We would really love for you to play again, next round or come back when, you know, you have the availability. We would love to have you. You know, no worries. Do not worry. It is okay. Um, and then most of the time those people will come back. They will come back when life allows them to. Um, you know, and it's not a scary thing. Our members, are really great about keeping on top of their attendance, but we lovingly call them "Hey girly" texts because nobody wants to get a "Hey girly" text. Nobody wants to get a warning. So, "Hey girly" texts are going out on Sundays and Mondays. Make sure you're on top of your attendance. Um, so most of the time they're not really like they feel very comfortable talking to HR and they will take long-term absences. They will take like we really don't make it's not frowned upon in Silver Sharks to take a leave. It's totally fine. And, I would rather them take a leave than to just like kind of not show up to things. I would rather them just be honest, be like, yeah, hey, listen, I need 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks. I need to get my ducks in a row. And, that's fine. Go ahead, take your 2 weeks. We'll pop in, see how you're doing. That's all it is.
Discord, I swear, please. Discord, work. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you can hear me now, but Discord is not working. Anyway, the last question is, what should I do if somebody is being disrespectful?
Okay. So, knock on wood, we have upheld a very drama-free environment. But occasionally, there is that situation where two people are butting heads, or, perhaps somebody is kind of like crossing boundaries and just not being polite and not being respectful, and we have to step in. Um, Circling back to the HR thing, really important to have HR that you work really well with. And likewise, having HR that can offer a bunch of perspectives. Because I will say that we hit it every angle, every perspective. If we have a member who is, they have a complaint, we look at all parties, how they could be feeling. Um, it's never like a who's right, who's wrong, unless it's obviously like this person is not being kind, this person is not being, not adhering to like our values. Which then we would be like, uh-uh. but seeing it from all perspectives is so important. Um, in certain situations, sometimes you'll have multiple people come to you, and we call that building a case, which makes it sound so professional, but it's kind of like a vocabulary that HR uses a lot. Let's build a case on this, you know? And if we have multiple people coming to us like, hey, this person said this, let's say it happened in a call during practice, somebody said something and it was not nice. Um, maybe we'll be like, hey, what did they say exactly? Or we'll go to the instructor that night. Hey, what did this person say? You know? And we kind of really like try to get that evidence, like, especially if like we weren't present for it or it wasn't somewhere where we can openly see what happened. Um Building a case is super important because, let's say somebody comes to me and they're like, um, you know, it was just a situation that was a misunderstanding. Maybe somebody said something in a sarcastic tone, maybe in the chat, and somebody didn't really pick up on the sarcasm, and it just sounded straight out mean. Um, and that person came to me and they're like, "Hey, like I didn't like this." We'll be like, "Hey, did you hear this or whatever?" And build that case so that we could ultimately come to a conclusion on like what we want to do. Is this the first offense that they've had? Is this, consistently like something we see like in this behavior of this person? And, kind of the HR will all agree on what we're going to do to handle it. You know, Reach out to that member in a polite, non-biased way. Hey, what's your name? HR was made aware that XYZ happened on this day during practice in during pup practice. We just want you to know that does not align with our values. Um, be careful what you say to other members. Remember to treat everybody kindly. If this was a misunderstanding, just understand that sometimes, you know, things can be misconstrued over chat, messages, you know, what have you. And, really make it known that, like, don't do this again. And it depends on the severity. If it's something that's obviously intentional and malicious, that's when we're like, hey, yeah, like we'll get a little more stern. We'll be like, don't do that, But we most importantly, in a way that is very much like business professional, not personal. Like, we are never going to be like, "That was rude. You you shouldn't have said that. That was mean." Like, you know, it would be like, "This this situation is not okay." You know? M Pointing fingers just aggravates people, and, you know, it's just gonna blow up out of proportion. Get straight to the point. Do not do this, you know? And depending on the intent behind it, what you've kinda gathered from everybody involved, is kind of like how your response reflects in your response, and if somebody is being like disrespectful over and over again consistently, it is obvious that they are doing this on purpose to get a reaction, a negative reaction. Remove them. Remove them. If it protects your members, I will do anything to protect my members. Anything in the world. I am big old mama bear. If somebody is consistently making somebody uncomfortable, being rude, being mean, being disrespectful, whether that be to an instructor, a pup, a Mako, whatever rank you are, if somebody is consistently making you uncomfortable and you come to us with this and you're like, this has been happening, and you feel Like, that is not the environment we have here, and it will be dealt with, it will be handled, every situation is handled, and every situation is handled in the most just and professional way that the HR can, and while also understanding all of the perspectives, um, involved. So, it is really tricky, it it it's not easy to deal with, the bad eggs or difficult situations because we never want to deal with that. But sometimes misunderstandings happen. Sometimes, maybe somebody has different intentions. And I think the way that you handle it is a big factor into what comes after, and whether that leads to removal or warning, you know, whatnot. It's hard, but with with the support you needed from HR, you know, finding a solution is possible.
Awesome. Okay, I think that was the last question. So if anybody has bullets or silver shark, put them in the chat and she can totally answer them.
Yes. How are you so cool, Blitz? Like, you're so cool and amazing. I don't know. I'm born this way. Maybe it's Maybelline. Who did your logo? Okay, that is KSC Creates on Instagram. She's awesome. Her name is Sky. Very reasonably priced. She got it done super quick. It is everything I ever wanted. Love our logo. We also Our last logo is from Mashira Arts. Can you join the club? Heck yeah, you can. Ari's already in my club. Ari's already here. But Ari wants to rejoin the club. She wants to be a pup again. She just graduated too. Yeah, yeah, the owner of Silent Dragons. She was in Silver Sharks for a little bit. Apps are not open. You guys are so silly. How do you manage the stress and challenges that comes with a growing club? Do you more do you feel there's more pressure depending on the number of members? Rue, you always have the best questions. Okay. Um, yeah. So managing stress was actually a huge, huge um kind of like obstacle I had to navigate because the more it is like a part-time job. We joke about it and we'll say like it's our job away from our job, but when it comes down to it, it is. When I come home from work, sometimes while I'm at work, I'm doing club stuff. I when I come home from work, immediately on my computer doing club stuff. We're planning events, we're getting in touch with instructors, we're talking among HR, planning out meetings, planning out something. It is an everyday thing. We rarely get breaks. And even when we do take a break, I was on vacation this whole week. All I could think about was the club. All I could think about was the club. Oh, what? I wonder how they're doing. I wonder how my club is. You know, when it comes to stress and challenges, managing stress, I would say as a club owner and as an HR is it's okay to take a night off. It's okay. And like it's something I'm learning, we're getting there. But just like any other job, you deserve a day off. Take a day off if you need it. Please take a day off. Just don't go on Star Stable. You know, maybe casually chat on Discord, but don't like have a night where you don't focus on any of like the administrative work of attendance or, you know, the logistics of things. Talk to your members, but just That's all it needs to be. Have one night to yourself where you just decompress. Um, and the challenges, you know, they suck, but having a support system is so helpful. Just like any challenges in life, having somebody to talk to about them is so helpful. I said this a million times during the podcast, but I talk to my HR so much, especially when it comes to like Star Stable related things, but I also talk to them about real life things too. And like sometimes my HR is like, girl, take a break. Like take a step back, we got it. And like I would do the same for them. They're having a bad day, don't worry. We got it. Take your time. And I think that that's really helpful is just having that support system of like, I'm going through a burnout or, you know, I'm struggling in this way or that way. And, having a group of people that will consistently be there for you and be willing to pick up the slack like when you just like feel like you cannot do it. Um, and I definitely do think that there is more pressure depending on the number of members. It's a different kind of pressure though. The pressure of owning a small club is very much on like attendance and like growing the club. That's like the kind of stress that you get when you start a club or a team, and you're trying to get your name out there and you're consistently working and working and working, trying to get, grow following and gain members. Owning a medium club, once you kind of hit that like 10 to like 20 plus mark, having a medium club and, you know, it's still kind of like the stress of like growing, but more so you're focusing on member retention, attendance. That's where like medium club stress comes from. It's like, okay, you've got a good number of members now. How do you keep them? How do you keep them in the club? You know, how do you keep things interesting? How do you, really enforce now is like a medium-sized club is like you need to solidify your foundation. You need to, you know, get get everything that was like trial and error and like, kind of plan to iron out the wrinkles and, keep the ball rolling cuz like now you're like on a roll now. And then once you make it to large club status, it's, you know, you've made it. I'm not really worrying about like growing my members because I have amazing members. I've got members that have been here for over a year now. We consistently keep our numbers, but you're also now managing over 40 people and it can get a little chaotic because you're trying to keep tabs on who has a concern about this and oh, I'm sorry. Um, you're trying to keep tabs on everybody, um, on like concerns and, questions and this and that, and you've got trials and you've got Makos and you've got, comp team and you've got so many things happening and now you have instructors and now it's just like the stress of having a large club is keeping consistent because once you have that set schedule, that routine, now your members are adhered to that same schedule and routine, and you don't really want to switch that up for them. I don't like to because I'm a person that thrives on routine. So I wouldn't want to mess that up for my members. So really staying consistent and with adhering to that and, remembering like this person said this person's going to be out here and you're just kind of like actively working to make sure that everything is kept up to date. You're making sure everybody feels listened to w- among, 40 plus people, making sure that everybody is getting the same, treatment, no matter who they are from HR, because your members want to feel heard. They want to feel like what they say is no matter if it's a suggestion, question, if they're just, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna be out for a week next week. I'm going on vacation." Making sure that that's like we know HR's responding to them. "Hey, thanks for the heads up. Have a happy vacation. Hey, I have a concern. Can we our events, the last event there was like, a lot of people interrupting and stuff. Can you make sure that, in the future we minimize interruptions? Oh yeah, HR will handle that. Making sure you go to the threshers and the instructors. Hey, we received some feedback. There's been a lot of background noise, people interrupting. Can you ensure that in the future that's not going to happen? Um, and just, like, kinda stuff like that, like, okay, concern, heard, dealt with. Concerned, heard, dealt with. This is happening, okay, make a note, this person's gonna be out, and it's just a lot of busy work. It's a lot of, like, keeping up to date and making sure that we're all on the same page, and, like, we're really good at that. Most of the time, all of us are on the same page, and I'm so blessed, I'm so blessed. I see that my other leaders in here. Hey, Lauren, shout out. Um, we are amazing, we work super well, but it can get a little chaotic sometimes. I'll admit, sometimes, Lauren and Eagle can vouch. We feel like chickens without our heads. We are just running around crazy and trying to get everything done, and it can get crazy sometimes. But I I love all of the stages that I have with owning a club. It's been awesome from when we were small, medium, and now at the size that we are. I am the proudest club owner. I feel like a proud Facebook mom every single time I talk about my club.
That's so cute. That's so amazing. I This was probably one of my favorite podcasts as well. You were so detailed with all your questions and answers and everything. So I really appreciate that, and I keep all connected listening, answering the questions. But yeah, it'll be posted up podcast channel if you want to rewatch it or go back to questions. But yeah, that's basically it. I gotta head to a public lesson hosted by Hawk. So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you,
Thank you
Blitz.
guys. Thank you so much. I was so happy to be here.
I know,
All
it
right,
was
have a
so
good night.
fun. Good
Bye,
night.
everybody. Good night.